Stop. Wow. Cool. One of my former students dropped by. Morning, Cathy.
All right, I'm just gonna stop sharing that because that's something that you do, but not exactly you.
No, well, that's interesting. That's actually that must be the graduate recital of one of my students.
Yeah, I think it is actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
San
about
Diego
itself.
State University Faculty Jazz Ensemble. Yep. So Rick, you have to move the camera down so you're more in the camera.
How's that?
That is so perfect.
Okay, cool. You sure you want to see this much of me though?
Yes. You have some people saying hello already. Let's see. Justin Grinelli,
No? Oh, cool.
Leonard Patton.
Oh my. That's great.
Leonard Patton is the singer, right?
Yeah, very good one. You'd like him.
Yeah. Oh, I know where I've heard him. I've heard him on with I've heard him with Peter Sprague.
Yes.
Yeah. Great singing, Leonard. Nice to meet you. Laurie Bell. Hello.
Hi, Lori.
Andrew Elstob.
Yeah. Wow. This is great.
Danny Green.
Oh.
A great musician. Rick is the best, Leonard said. You are so right. My friend Roland Askerons, who he might have actually known you years ago when you lived in LA. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, my guest, my old friend, Rick Helzer.
Thank you for letting me do this, Cathy. I'm really honored that you thought about me.
Oh, well, thank you for doing it. I'm honored that you would come on, and also for 2 hours. 2 hours is sometimes it's a lot of time, to give.
That's fine. I'm retired now.
Right, you're retired. Oh my God, how does it feel being retired?
It's very nice. It's very nice. Yeah. See, we've moved out of, well, once I retired, that was back in 2013.
Yeah.
We moved up here back to my hometown, Fresno. 2017, bought a house, which we couldn't have done in San Diego.
Yeah. That's true.
And, getting connected with a lot of my old friends here. Oh, John Laufenberger wanted me to say hello to you, by the way, too.
Oh, yeah, say hi. I actually like was texting a little with Gary,
Oh,
and
cool, cool.
yeah, yeah, because I guess you guys had gotten together,
Yeah,
yeah.
I call it three-fourths of my old band.
See,
Mm.
a lot of people, I know you're not really, like on Facebook and stuff, but a lot of people are here. Chuck Phillips, Nick
Oh, yeah.
Toko,
Yes.
Nick,
Sorry.
Nick Toko.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hi, Nick.
So a lot of people are, you know, coming on.
That's great. I'm glad you're doing this. I mean, I was just on your website the other day, and I just love, the archive that you have of all these different people that you can read. That is just fabulous.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned to you before, but pretty soon I'm going to start reviewing reviewing the interviews and writing down my observations and making maybe a few books out of it, and just for
Pretty cool.
something nice, because it's each conversation has its own inspiration.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. um what was I going to say? Well, anyway, Rick has, I mean, there's so much to talk about, but basically Rick has a lot of music that he's performed and recorded. How many records have you recorded? A lot, right?
Well, I mean, just ones that are uh, directly related. I mean, I've been on other people's records and whatnot, but the Face in the Mirror, that was one I think I sent to you a while back. And that's all my music, all my compositions with a bunch of great players. Kim Richmond's on it.
Yeah,
Uh, um, James Newton,
yeah,
Laurie's on it,
yeah,
and Duncan Moore on bass, and Chris Connor, who I miss a lot, on
yeah,
bass,
yeah.
and one of my graduate students at the time, Joseph Powell, on clarinet. So it's yeah, and Derek Cannon, really great trumpet player, who's teaching down at I believe Rosemont College.
Well, what the cool thing is that, well, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, so Rick used to live in LA, and we used to work together a lot. And actually, he arranged a lot of my very first record, and that was in the '80s. And anytime I go back, I should have actually had a copy of it here, but I'll show it from my files. But anytime I go back and listen, your charts sound timeless.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I'm really glad that you gave me that opportunity too. I mean, that was a lot of fun
It
doing it
was
all.
great. Yeah, it was really great. We'll play a little bit of it, in the 2 hours. But hi, Toby. But yeah, but your music is so. Anyway, I hadn't seen Rick for a long, long time, and he had moved to San Diego and was what was your position there?
Well, it evolved. I
Oh,
started out just as an adjunct.
yeah.
I went to
Oh,
a couple times a week. Bill Yeager, who's the director of the program, we'd worked many years prior to that at his LA Jazz Workshop, teaching, and we had rehearsal bands, and I taught like rhythm section workshops and some piano classes and stuff like that. So that my relationship with him goes back quite a way. So anyway, he got the job as the director of jazz studies down at San Diego State, and he wanted me to get involved. So it started out slow. So I started out as an adjunct, and then I became a part-time lecturer, and then I became a full-time lecturer. And then finally in 2001, they opened up my position for tenure track. And of course, I was not given it. I had to apply for it. Um, and we actually had one one search that was failed. We had to do another one. So I did all that work for the first search, and it was, no, we're not going to do it. And so we came around, and then I became an assistant professor in 2001. And by the time I retired, I was a full professor. So it's that evolution of professional growth.
yes. Okay, well, let's continue talking. But I have a question. I'm not sure if it's your computer or mine, but there's some very loud dings that are happening.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. That is the person who I'm borrowing this computer from, I'm getting these little notices up in the right-hand corner about text messages and stuff like that. And I have no way of knowing how to turn that off.
Oh, okay.
I apologize for that right off the bat. I don't know. I mean,
I think if you found the messages, it's probably messages are open.
oh,
And if you could close messages, that wouldn't do anything bad to his computer or anything. Um, you
maybe.
know,
Let me see here. Let me see if I can get that happening.
yeah. In the meantime, I might even go um, look for more of your music, like specifically like with you
Yeah.
and oh, you got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, great,
Hope so.
wonderful. um oh well, here's an interesting area. You and Rick Helzer. I mean, sorry, you are Rick Helzer. You and Vinnie Golia.
Oh yeah.
Fancy meeting you here.
Oh yes. Yeah. That was an interesting album. I kind of knew about Vinny way before I met him, but we used to have an organization in LA, a bunch of friends of mine, Jeanette Raitt, drummer, Bill Plake, who actually plays in Vinny's large ensemble,
Uh-huh.
great saxophonist and flutist. Well, anyway, we had a kind of a fundraiser for our little organization at the time.
Yeah.
And, Vinny being the kind of guy he is, he wanted to be involved. So we had this like little jam session, and it ended up that it was just he and I on the stage playing. And we just started improvising, and there was a connection there. And I kind of flowed into a Carla Bley tune called Olos de Gato. It's one of her kind of tangos, pedal point tangos. This is a really great tune. And so anyway, and from there we just kind of, one of the reasons why you have to do albums, and I'm not saying have to do them, but when you're in an academic setting,
Yeah.
one of the ways that you have to show to your superiors, like the dean of the College of Professional Studies and Fine Arts, you have to do things like, for people that are like PhDs and scholars, they have to write research papers, books. Someone like me, I needed to be recording my stuff published.
Uh-huh.
So that was those two albums of Fancy Meeting You Here and Face in the Mirror actually came. I think they came within a 2-year period. I did one year and the other one the next. But the album I did with Vinny was just the duo, and I'd say 50% of it was improvised, and the other half was just some of his tunes, which are very challenging, and a couple of my tunes that we did. And yeah, we had a great time. We recorded up at Wayne Pete's studio. So, and Wayne did a great job. They did a great job of editing it and everything too. So that was fun. I have a feeling, and I actually had Vinny come down to San Diego State as a guest artist. I think it was probably about 2 or 3 years later, and I was directing the we call it Jazz Combo 1. It's the best students, and it was great. He totally blew their minds because they had never dealt with kind of music before. It was fun.
Wow, I really want to talk about this, and I have some very specific questions I want to ask you, but I would like to play some of it because I want people to get where we're coming from on this,
Okay.
So I'm going to play some of this. Your picture will become very small.
Okay.
And here's the playlist. Do you think any particular song?
Why don't you just play the first one, because that it's a shortcut, but that piece was spontaneously composed and improvised.
Okay, great.
No discussion. We just sat there and waited for the red light.
And how did the title come about? It's kind of an odd title.
Well, that basically, any of the tunes that have got both of our names on them, I let that well, I shouldn't say that, I guess, because they've all got both our names. But that particular one, any of the ones that were spontaneously played, I let him title them. So you'll have to ask Vin.
Okay.
Like all I said about the Kerwood Derby. I mean, I don't know what that's about, but
Okay. All right, here we go. You tell him Kwai Chung. Whoop. Get out of here, you ads. Okay, skip ads. Yes. That's great. I love you guys. You guys are just great. That was really fun, really great. So my question that I had wanted to ask you before was obviously obviously to me, your style of playing, your preference of playing, or what your artistry brings forth is what I'd call modern jazz, or some people would call it abstract or improvisational, right? And so as a person who is so into that, I'm not even sure what I want to ask. Something about teaching, like do you teach that, or do you teach the very kind of basic standard information. Of course, you do that too, the theory and where jazz comes from and all that. But do you find yourself teaching the style that you're really into as well?
Well, yeah, that's a big question. I guess, yeah, I do. I probably did that more of the that kind of teaching probably in my small groups. Uh,
Oh, I see.
One of the things that's really important to me, um, and I did a lot of transcribing during the time that I was there. There were a lot of the tunes that I wanted to play. I mean, recordings that I was very familiar with, but you know, I don't know, 20, 15, 20 years ago, a lot of those tunes weren't available.
Oh, yeah.
So I transcribed them, and because I wanted my students to have the experience. I mean, we of course played more conventional tunes. We played bebop tunes. We played some standards. Uh, Sometimes I would arrange the standards and kind of try to take them in different places,
Yeah.
conceptually, harmonically. It was a broad swath, down to simple 12-bar blues.
Uh-huh.
I wanted them to have, the challenge of playing music by Wayne Shorter or Charles Mingus, um, Herbie Hancock. Um, gee, uh, what goes on and on. I was just trying to think of one of my Gary Peacock's music. We did some of his.
That's nice.
Did some of Jarrett's music, and we actually did some of Jarrett's pieces from the Belonging album, in which there are a few tunes on that record that are. I always hate to use the word free, because
Uh-huh.
that word can sometimes carry negative connotations in the sense that, oh, you mean just a bunch of mishmash and noise, because there was a certain amount of that music back in the early 60s that was, they called it energy playing.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, and some people would scoffed at it, I mean, I didn't, but, a lot of people did.
They called it, did you say they called it energy?
Yeah,
Like,
it was basically tied into the civil rights movement and the
oh,
kind of the anger and in the black community, and
oh,
a lot of these musicians.
oh,
So it was just basically a lot of it was basically the expression of those raw emotions through music. And but anyway, I got off on that, but uh, that but there's all kinds of different forms of that music.
yeah,
I'm a big fan of Cecil Taylor,
yeah,
um, and but there's everything between that kind of very unusual music that doesn't have what most people would say are the usual structural harmonic parameters. There's
right.
that on one side. And then on the other side, there's let's play a Charlie Parker bebop tune. And then there's everything in between.
Yeah,
So I really wanted to give my students as much of a broad swath of that as I could.
yeah.
And so in fact, one of these days, I'll send you. I just remembered another CD. I did actually one of my combos, and I'll send it down to you.
Oh, cool. Great.
Leonard is on it, uh,
Oh,
and so is. Do you remember Jeanette Raitt?
yeah.
She went back to her maiden name. It's Jeanette Kangas now,
Oh,
but she came to school at San Diego State to do a master's degree there. So, which was great to have her there.
oh man. Yeah.
And then we
That's
played.
so cool.
Yeah, and that was way after when I was in my LA days, we had a group called Big, and that was the group with Bill Plake and her and myself. And that group was really devoted to creative improvised music because we all were writing music for the group, and a lot of people, a lot of people would say, "Well, where's your bass player?" We don't have a bass player. This is a little different.
What was the instrumentation in that group?
It was piano. Jeanette played drums and a variety of interesting percussion. Bill played tenor sax, C flute, and I believe he might have played soprano sax, and he might have played a alto flute too. But we did a couple records. We went to Germany and played over there back in it was 91. They had a festival back in Freiburg, West Germany called the Zelt Festival. And so we We had a manager at the time. His name was Matt Dunlap. And he helped get us set up. We did some touring in the Pacific Northwest, plus a lot of playing in LA and stuff.
Wow, that group had a big life.
Yeah.
Did I send you The Moment, my record, The Moment?
Yes, you did. Yes,
So
you did.
that was actually recorded by Wayne live at the Blue Whale, and we don't have a bass player either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yours sounds a lot more in depth, but anyway, we don't have a bass player because Gary Fukushima just took care of that. Do you know Gary?
No, but I know him. I like what I've heard of him. I really like what I heard.
Yeah, you and he would get along really well. You guys ought to talk sometime. I'm sure you would have a really great conversation. Let's see. Tony Jones is here, and he said he recently posted a set that you guys did with Eric Von Essen at Dante's.
Oh, I gotta get that link. Yeah.
Well, we could actually probably go look for it. Tony, send me the link, and I'll actually bring it up because that sounds really great, doesn't it?
That was a really fun band with him. Chuck Manning played sometimes.
Oh.
And that's actually where I first met John Stoll too.
Oh.
Tony called me to a jam session at his studio, and like, why don't you come over and play? And John, I did a few of those with him, but this one, John Stoll was in town, so he said, "Yeah, why don't you come over and play?" And so I drove over there and met him, and we started playing, and it was like there seemed to be a real simpatico there, and we did a duo album together a few years ago too. So
that is a gorgeous. Oh my God! When I first played that, I was like, "Oh,
thank you,
boy, that is beautiful."
Well, there was just a connection there.
Yeah.
When I get a chance, or when I have the updated technology, there's a live thing that we did down at one of the clubs in San Diego that had all that live energy in it. And I need to send that to you too.
Oh, wait a minute. What Tony said Scott Colley was the bassist. Do you mean on the jam? Was it Scott Colley? Because he was, right?
Oh,
he was here for a while. Actually, you know what? Scott was the bass player on my first record.
That's right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And he's doing quite well for himself. I mean, I don't know how now with the COVID, but.
But he's amazing.
I've got a few albums of his.
Yeah. I saw him about a year and a half ago in Northridge. He was playing with Luciano Souza and Chico, the guitarist. Yes.
Danny
that was a beautiful concert. But Scott, he's. Tony said no in our quartet. Tony, give me the post link for the set that you did with Eric Von Essen at Dante's, please. Okay, so I have to say hello more. You have a lot of people coming on, man. You're really popular. Hi, Joyce. Ryan Meager.
Ryan Marr.
Sorry, Ryan. I really messed up your name. Let's see. Yeah, he said you introduced him to a lot of out jazz. Nate.
Ryan's a great player. He's a really great player. I've got a couple of his records too.
What does he play?
Guitar. Incredible.
Cool. Nate Jarrell.
Yes.
Jarrell.
Yeah. He's a student that I worked with at San Diego State. He was when I showed all that crazy music too.
Brenda Martin.
Wow, she was a former student of mine. Yeah.
She said, I learned so much from Rick when I studied jazz piano with him and took his classes. Give him my best.
Oh, that's great.
That's nice, huh? Yeah. And Jeanette is here. Hi, Jeanette.
Tell Jeanette I'm planning on calling her, or actually emailing her and calling her.
She has given her email. Starts with UMP.
Okay.
I'll try. I'll take that. I'll save it somewhere, and when my email is working better, I will I will send it to you. I don't know what's with my email. Must be just like Earthlink today. So anyway, I'm going to put that and here, and then I'll send that to you. Let's see. Close that. And oh yeah, I was just going to tell you. Paul Yanamura, hi.
Hey, Paul.
So much fun. Yeah, Leonard said you are a huge influence on the San Diego jazz scene, and that's an understatement.
No.
So nice, isn't it? Armand Freegon.
Oh yeah, Matt Fregon. Yeah. Wow. Hear from him too.
He says, I remember notebooks full of Rick's juicy transcriptions. And Daniel Gilbert.
Oh yeah, Dan Gilbert. Wow.
Yeah, you have a lot of people who wanted to come say hello. Ed Kornhauser.
Yeah, Ed's a great piano player, and I got onto his website a couple of days ago just to see what he's up to, and he's a great pianist. He's a great pianist, and he's actually kind of assumed a really kind of a cool 50s jazz musician persona, tweed jackets and horn. Like that. Yeah, he's a great, really wonderful musician. He was a great student to work with.
Oh, I'm going to have to check you out, Ed. Melanie Grinnell.
Oh yeah, that's Justin's wife. She was my graduate student pianist.
Also, Tony wanted you to send him your contact info, or I can do it.
Yeah, why don't you do that? Because I'd like to get back to you. That'd be great.
I will. Let's see. My friend Roland said, of particular interest to me is your 2003 tour of 3 Bolivian cities, since I'm Bolivian. How did you end up doing that tour? Were you invited by the government? How were you treated? Did you enjoy it? How was the little village of Urubica? Was it fairly hot?
Yeah. Well, that was actually I wrote a grant for that particular trip. That was another. I went to Bolivia and I went to Costa Rica too, and we had like a little faculty jazz group. Justin Grinnell played bass, and I'm just trying to remember his first name. Oh, this is embarrassing. I hate this old age memory,
I know, I do too.
Anyway, a vocalist, and I'll get his name right here quick. But anyway, we went down there and we did some concerts. We did some master classes. We played in a couple of clubs. And the person that basically was our host down there was actually one of our former graduate students, who was a conductor. And so he brought us down. I'm sure that, the Bolivian government had to have something to do with it.
Yeah.
The village that we went into that you just mentioned, that was actually an indigenous village.
Oh.
That was a real interesting cultural experience to go to that place, because they were very poor people, dirt floors in their homes. Yeah. There was a Catholic church there. We stayed at the Catholic church. And they have a real interesting kind of. I actually went to one. I've never gone to a mass before, so I went one night. We were there. I went to a mass, and that's kind of like, what's the word? Syncretic. Well, they blend their native religions with the Catholicism. Yeah. But the thing that was neat about this particular church was that they had orchestras of these young kids from this area. They had a government sponsorship. They would bring in instruments, violins, cellos, violas, basses, other instruments, and they actually had orchestras that they were forming, because one of the ways that these people in particular could actually make a living outside and get outside of the village was to be trained, and they could go up and get into the major cities and play in the orchestras there. And so Roland, in fact, Roland, I can't remember. Roland was the guy who hosted us. I can't remember Roland's last name, but he was actually active in that and bringing these musicians up. And it was a pretty amazing instant time, because we actually got to hear them rehearse and play, and they sounded pretty darn good, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
And then we went to La Paz and we played there, and so it was good. We were treated really well. We did one thing that I really was sad about. We went to a little city called Potosi, and that used to be back in the 1500s and the 1600s. There was a lot of gold and silver there, and the Spanish came in, and they were colonizing and doing what they do. And now so we went there, and we actually got a tour of one of the mines.
Oh.
And it was really eye-opening, Cathy, because it was these people. I mean, I thought some of the people that I had already met were poor, but these miners are just, they're really poor. They all look depressed. There's something like, it's not like marijuana, but there's something that they chew. It's kind of a narcotic that they chew. It was really poor. And these mines, some of these mines are really dangerous.
So the people are still working in the mines.
Yeah, they're still working them. And I actually,
wow.
I had Justin and Melanie were on that trip, along with the singer, and they all went down on a tour. And I got about 20 feet into that tunnel. I went, no, I don't think so. You guys go ahead. I learned at that point that I was somewhat what's the word, claustrophobic.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's talk about different realities, Man, that's some deep stuff. Yeah. Roland suggested maybe they were cocoa leaves that they were chewing on.
Yeah, cocoa leaves. Oh, is he on? Oh, you're talking about.
Oh, it's a different Roland. Yeah, Roland, my friend Roland Askeruns.
Okay.
But he kidded that it was him, but
no, cocoa leaves. That's what it was.
Yeah, and Melanie said the singer was Ralph Rodriguez.
Ralph, yes, Ralph. Yeah, really good singer. We had a lot of fun down there.
Yeah. So. Gosh, I'm kind of interested in playing this Tony Jones thing. Do you mind? So here we go. Here's TJQ with Eric Von Essen. And wow, sounds great. Whew. fun sax, you know?
Chuck.
Chuck? Did you say Chuck? Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sorry, what?
Tony can correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay. Oh, man. Yeah, Rick. That's beautiful background. Oh man, that is gorgeous. Woo! God, sounds so good.
I gotta have a copy of that. Or, I mean, I gotta get the link or something.
Wow, that really is beautiful. Yeah, that was God, Rick, you were playing such beautiful stuff there too. You just I wa- I wish we were I mean, we're not that far away, but I'd like to work with you a lot right now, you know. It would
Well,
be really fun to work through stuff and develop stuff, you know.
yeah. Well, I got plans. It's put its foot down and everything, but I want to have you come up to Fresno and do
Yeah.
a jazz Fresno piece
Yeah,
together.
yeah. Yeah, and I'll create something down here too. You have boy, you are a super loved human being, man. Let's see. Let's see. Louis Valenzuela
Oh, Louis, yeah,
or Louis.
yeah,
Is that
Louis,
it?
yeah,
And
yeah. Great stuff.
let's see. Oh, by the way, that was a last second booking that Eric subbed for Scott.
Well, I'm really glad that he did.
Yeah.
Eric actually subbed for John Laufenberger a couple times too for on our reawakening gigs, and it was always really a lot of fun because he brought, you know, he's got different personality, different thing. We played a lot of my original music, and he would just bring all these new things in the music that I hadn't even thought of, you know.
You know, I have a story to tell you about Eric, but hold on. Lori Bell has to run, but she said it was an honor to work and record with you, and thanks for writing that cool piece with for me on your face in the mirror CD, face in the mirror CD.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I have a story about that tune that I wrote for Bell chimes in. I'll have to tell you a little short story about that.
okay, you're going to be first. Let's see. And Louis said, Rick, you taught all of San Diego. Duncan Moore says he loves you. Joel Ginsberg said, it's such a relief to see you, Rick. You're the professor who gave me context to jazz harmony. Thank you so much for being funny and kind and a badass musician. Oh. Oh, and Louis said thank you. And wow, Leonard is crying happy tears. Let's see. Um, yeah, Mackenzie Layton says
Oh,
so great to hear you.
great bass player, great bass player. Yes.
And Philip J. Lim said,
Oh,
"Great
yeah.
to hear you again."
Their student of mine, yeah.
You have a lot of people who love you. It's great.
Well, that's humbling. It is. It is.
Okay, your story first.
Okay, so I did some gigs with Lori and guitar player that she was working with, Ron Satterfield.
Yeah, what a singer too.
Yeah, and a singer and
Oh,
interesting way of playing guitar too.
yeah, yeah.
But anyway, I was subbing, I think, for someone that night. It was a gig in Del Mar at some restaurant. And so, we were playing, we're having a great time. And then she asked me if you want to play something? I said, yeah, can we do Come Rain or Come Shine? And she goes, you really want to play that? Da, 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 da. It was, it was funny. So fast track a little, when I was putting my album together, I had to write a piece for her. And so that hence the title, Bell Chimes In. But the tune is, it's a contrafact on those changes. I mean, but it's kind of like how can I say it? It's kind of like a Lenny Tristano / Woody Shaw kind of line, just abstract and it's all over the place. And we had to play together in unison. And I actually do quote the original melody in a couple of places during the tune.
That's funny.
So anyway, that's how that came about.
That's funny.
She is an absolutely wonderful musician.
She is. Wow, she's really amazing. Yeah. She'll be on the show, and she and Dave Mackay, of course, played together. And when we did a tribute for Dave, both when he was alive and then when he passed. And she was, really involved, and her music was in there. And she and Ron and Dave worked together a
Oh,
lot.
yeah, I've got a couple of those records.
Yeah,
So,
really brilliant. Okay, here's my Eric Von Essen story.
oh yeah,
So, remember Chadney's?
Chad. I'm sorry, say it again.
Chadney's? Chadney's?
That was in like Glendale or Pasadena.
It was right across from NBC in Burbank.
Okay, yeah, I think I played there. Yeah, did we play
It
there?
was, yeah, huh?
Did we ever play there together? I can't remember if we did or
I
not.
don't know. I'm not sure, but it was a long time ago.
Hmm.
It was such a great venue. Anyway, so me, I always, I would always put together strange groups. And so for a while, I had two guitar, bass, and drums. And
Hmm.
so this one gig, it was Steve Cotter and Larry Coons
Oh yeah.
and Eric and Paul Krybeck.
Oh yeah.
And
Couldn't get anybody to play, huh?
no, and it was the last song of the night. And I called it blues, and like a jazz blues, so some probably something like that. And so I sang, and then gave room for the solos.
Mhm.
And Eric, the only way I can describe it is he, not during his solo, during his playing, he basically opened the door and led the musicians somewhere. And I'd never heard that, or I had never perceived that before, of especially a bass player. I had perceived that with more lead type of players like piano or guitar. And but just in the playing, not, as I said, not on a solo, and he just, everybody went through that door, and I was supposed to come back in, and
Mhm.
I didn't even come back in. It was too perfect. I just
Oh,
let it happen, and that's how it ended. And I just always remembered that because it was so unusual that I would hear somebody do that.
yeah, man, it's great. That is a great,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
very missed. Yeah, very missed.
Um, Derek Cannon is here.
Great trumpet player. Yeah, played in my groups. Yeah, he's teaching at I believe it's Grossmont College. It's doing the jazz there. Great musician. He's on my album.
Oh, wow. Louis is flipping out that you're here and that he's seeing you.
Oh.
He's flipping out. He's just so happy. And yeah, people are so happy to see you. It's really nice. Um, so, um, so okay. So you grew up in Fresno, right?
Well, I actually grew up in Sanger, which is a little farm town outside of Fresno.
Okay.
Lived on a ranch until about the time I was 9, and then my dad decided he didn't want to do ranching anymore. And at the time, my mom was suffering with really bad migraine headaches. So I don't know who told us about it, but we went to this chiropractor in Fresno. His name was Wentland, and he helped her. She basically overcame her migraine headaches. And my dad was so impressed by that and so moved by that that's what he decided he wanted to do. He wanted to become a chiropractor.
Oh, wow.
So there's a really well-known chiropractic college back in Davenport, Iowa. It's called the Palmer College of Chiropractic. So we went back there for almost 4 years so he could go to school. And then he came back, and then he set up his practice. And when I was 13, I think that's when I went back. Was in school in the Fresno school system. I went to the middle school and then to high school at Roseville High School.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I feel like I must have met you through Lauren Pickford, but I don't really remember.
Yeah, I don't know how that was either. I can't remember how that happened either.
But when did you move to LA?
moved to LA in, well, that's conflict in my mind. It was either 80 or 81.
Okay.
And I took my reawakening group with me, John Waffenberger and drummer at the time, Jeff McCutcheon, and Larry. He was our woodwind player.
Larry who?
Honda.
Okay.
Honda, great player too, good friend.
Yeah.
And so we, we were going to take LA by storm. We were going to be the next thing. And I always like to tell people that LA actually took us by storm, So, but we had a lot of opportunities to play, and the group went through some personnel changes. Jeff left the band, and that's when I met Paul. He started playing in the band, and then Larry eventually left the band because he wanted to go back to school and get a master's degree. He went to USC, and that's when Kim Richmond came into the band. And so it was, and then we actually had one more drummer at the end, Craig Hara. He came in after Paul did, and he was actually a friend of mine and a student at Cal Arts.
Oh, okay.
And, this guy was a great drummer, and he was a really great classical trumpet player. And I think he played jazz on the horn. I never had him play horn in the band, but he was a great musician too. So
yeah.
And then the band finally, John wanted to get out of LA, and so we all kind of went our separate ways.
Did you go to Cal Arts?
Yes.
Oh.
I was I have the distinction of being the first graduating student out of the master's program.
Wow.
My claim to fame.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And at the time, I mean, I got to study and play with Charlie Hayden during the time I was there, and I got to actually had him play on my graduate recital, which was kind of fun.
Oh, nice.
It was really fun. It was kind of nerve-wracking though, because Charlie had this thing about never quite being on time.
Oh.
And I played in his group that he directed. That was with Jeanette, and Scott Colley was playing in that group. The rehearsal was always supposed to be set at 3. Well, he never showed up until about 3:30. So do you know David Reutzstein?
Yes.
Yeah. So David says, okay, look, why don't we just tell Charlie
2:30.
2:30. And it didn't take him long to figure out what we were doing. We got him there a couple of times, it's like you come with. But with Charlie Hayden, all right, you come a half hour late. I don't care, because he was real free with his time. There were times when he would just, if things weren't happening the way that he thought we should, he was always challenging us. In fact, I remember one rehearsal in particular where we were playing Solar, and I'm just trying to. I think Mark Miller, saxophone, was on the group. I think Ralph Alessi might have been playing in the group. It was a pretty nice band.
Yeah.
But we're playing, and Charlie's kind of up in the front of the classroom. He's just pacing back and forth, and he's got this I'm not happy look. And so he kind of like comes in the middle of the room, and he just stands there, and he says, "Stop playing!" at the top of his lungs. It's like a big train wreck, and we're kind of all looking at each other because we don't know what's coming. And he says, "What's wrong, Charlie?" He says, and just stop playing what you know. And then somebody was foolish enough to say, "Well, Charlie, what should we play?" There's no point. Play something else. I've heard all this before.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was, but I mean,
wow.
It made us step up to the plate.
Yeah, that's so cool. I can understand that frustration too, like hearing people just play with, ho hum da da. Oh, here we go.
About that too, but I'll maybe save those for a private conversation.
I have so much to ask you, and again, more and more people are telling, you're a very popular person. Rick, Ian Tordella here.
Oh yeah. Another great musician, great saxophone player.
And Ian said Rob Lawson, Bill Yeager, and a few others watching the interview over YouTube.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I actually talked to Bill a few days ago. We had a great conversation.
Oh, cool.
We hadn't talked for a long time. So.
Cool. Do you think there's any YouTube, like live YouTube of you playing, like,
Well, there are two that I know of.
Yeah.
One of the groups that I had in San Diego, and again, good friends, great musicians, Justin Grinnell, and then drummer and composer Nathan Hubbard. You familiar with him? Nathan Hubbard?
I don't think so.
You okay there?
I don't think I'm familiar.
But well, he's kind of he's done a lot of recording, and he's also kind of like, I'd say, one of the cornerstones of the creative music scene down in San Diego. You have to definitely check him out. Yeah, he's got a lot of stuff. Well, anyway, we had a trio, the art trio, and it was actually Nate's idea. He said, "Let's just you and I and Justin get together," and so we got together. They're both former students, so we got together at school and we just started playing. We didn't play any tunes. It was just all improvising. And there was quite the simpatico right there, So we did one record. So that's basically the background. So there are two YouTube videos that I know of. Yeah, see, you're always looking for stuff there. Huh? There you go. Yeah, the Manic, and Ballad of the Credit Card Millionaire. That's the art trio. And that was a performance, I believe, at...
What would you like to hear, Ballad or Manic?
It doesn't matter. I'll let you choose. I don't. You choose.
I like the Ballad of the Credit Card Millionaire. I think that's a good name.
Well, actually, now, I think I retitled it. Now I'm calling it the...
What?
I'm calling it the Ballad of the Credit Card Billionaire.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah. A great band.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Let's see. Show non-video. Where am I? Art video. Here we go. Ah! Okay. Yeah, that was really beautiful. Somebody also included. They said that Nathan. He said, "Here's a Rick Helzer classic." So he we'll have to check that out next. But let's see. Yeah, and everybody's totally digging it. And was somebody possibly new? Well, they're all digging it. They love your angular playing, the textures. Um, uh, I forget you said it was a different first name, but Armand Freegon.
oh yeah, Matt Fregon.
Matt, yeah. He said, love Justin singing along with his solo, the modern day Slam Stewart. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, that was a really cool piece. Oh, did I tell you Barnaby Finch is here?
No, gosh, I haven't seen Barnaby for years. Say hello to him for me.
Yeah.
Hi, Barnaby.
Exactly. He said, you're amazing composer, pianist, and educator. And yeah, I played with him in Idlewild. So that we,
Oh yeah.
he's
So you
great.
met Marshall then too, right? Probably
Yes, definitely. Marshall. Yeah.
one of my favorite people on the face of the earth. Yeah.
Yeah. And Paul Carmen.
Oh yeah, I remember
I
Paul.
love Paul Carmen. Yeah. So let's see. I had something really particular to ask you. I'm trying to remember what it is. Um, gosh, I'll just have to let go and flow with the moment.
Yeah.
What? Well, okay, so we know you're retired. What else are you doing right now? Do you find yourself desiring to do some composing or not?
Well, it's interesting. It's been a long period of time where I didn't do any composing. I just didn't feel the music. Didn't have the muse, if you will. But when we got back to Fresno, it was just for me. It was just a matter of getting reconnected with a lot of my friends here and started playing. And pre-COVID, there was actually a lot of opportunities to play. We used to have a jam session down at a restaurant called Tokyo Garden, and another really great piano player friend of mine, Craig Von Berg, was actually the one who originated it, and it had been going on since up to the day that we had to stop. It had been going on like for 15 years. So I played in a band. There was a different band every weekend, kind of a house band. And the first set, the house band played, and then it was open up for player, people sit in. And so I played in a group with a guitar player friend of mine, Mike Dana. And you know him, or are you familiar?
I don't think so.
Yeah, great guitar player. Good. He and I we go back to the time I was like 18. In fact, he called me one day. I went to a Berkeley College summer session that I got out of high school,
Yeah.
and I got this little scholarship from Downbeat magazine, so that was pretty hot stuff.
Cool.
I go back there, and my jazz knowledge up to that point, I mean, my first great epiphany was Dave Brubeck. Back when, heard Time Out and was like, I don't know what that is, but that's what I want to do. So anyway, it expanded up to, I was listening to Vince Guaraldi and Ramsey Lewis, but that was jazz for me. So I go back to Berkeley, and that particular summer, there were all kinds of great players there. Usto Almario was actually taking a session back
Really?
there. I met him back there, yeah. And he was great. He taught me a lot of tunes, sat down with me and showed me a lot of stuff. But I remember there was one bass player who was from South America somewhere. And he was a guy that, we got acquainted and we were talking. He said, so who you listening to, man? I said, well, and I'm like, I'm Dave Brubeck, man, Vince Guaraldi, Ramsey Lewis. And he kind of looked at me and said, how nice for you. He says, okay, I'm taking you to the music library. And that's where I got, because he started like at Bill Evans, Miles, John Coltrane. No, Bill Evans, no. Hadn't heard any of those people.
Wow.
I got my mind blown. I mean, that listening library at Berkeley College back then, it was all reel to reel.
God, oh my God, I haven't thought of that for so long because I went in 72 to 75.
Okay.
I haven't thought of that like for 40 years or something. Oh my God, that's wild. Okay, I used to love going to the library. Yeah, okay, cool.
So my next epiphany happened in that library because the first Miles Davis, in fact, I think that was the first of all those people he wanted me to listen to. That was the first person I listened to was Miles. And I listened to ESP and that cut, the title cut. And it was like Dave Brubeck again, but like about 20 times as big. It was like, what are they doing? I'd never heard anything like that before, so and of course, when I got home, I started buying all these, it was funny. I mean, I'll always love Dave Brubeck, I got all the albums, Time Out, Time Further Out, Time in Outer Space, Time, all kind of like
all the time one.
Shuffle those off to the side, So I was getting into all this new stuff. So that was the second big, epiphany. And I think that really, Gary says sometimes, and I'm embarrassed when he says it, but he says, he said, well, if Rick hadn't, brought the music into our sessions and our groups that he had, we'd still be playing, Ode to Billy Joe and that's a little sidebar. Anyway, getting back to now. So, as far as composing, I actually wrote my first new tune in about years. And it's just a simple, but I have a friend of mine, his name's Joe Lenigan. He's a really dedicated and passionate jazz educator, trumpet player in town. Secondary education. And he has a reading band that he does at his home. And he's got this big driveway at his house. He's got a very nice home. And he has this it's like a reading big band. And he called me about 3 weeks ago and said, would you mind coming out and playing? So I'm sure I'll come out and play because he'd asked me before and I hadn't done it. So I had a free Saturday, so I went out there. I had a great time.
Wow.
Had a drummer, a friend of mine, Jim Ganguglia. He's also an educator. So there's a combination of some people like teachers and educators and professional players, and all these students, all these high school students. And man, there was a trumpet player and a tenor player and a young woman bass player in particular that were just smoking, you know. So and he was like in there, he's passing out charts and he's giving directions, and just you could tell he loves what he's doing, you know. And so when I got home, I just started, in fact, I emailed him. I told him, I admire what you're doing. This is really a great thing that you're doing. And then I said, yeah, I got to write him a tune. So, so I just wrote a tune for him called Joe the Teacher. And when I get it into the computer, maybe I'll send you a copy. Maybe you can think of some lyrics.
Oh, cool. I'd love to.
But it's, it's a blues, but it's just not your typical blues. It's got a few little twists in it, and a few little quotes too.
Yeah.
It'll be if you can catch the quotes when I send it to you.
Okay. Somebody said they would like to hear a little bit more of your LA history, and also I wanted to say that Tim Nunning.
Yeah, Tim Nunning.
He says hello. Great to see you. And Nathan said, if memory serves, Rick once told me he owned ESP on 8-track back in the day.
Yes, I did. I used to cruise Belmont Avenue in Fresno. That was the drag back then, you know. And I had a 67 Ford LTD, kind of a big V8 muscle car, and I had an 8-track player. So I go cruising down there, and I'd stop at stoplights, and there's you guys be playing, rock and roll. I was really kind of a, I don't know. I was really a snot to all my friends that were into music at that, like Cream and all that stuff. I wouldn't have me. But there's guys playing this stuff, and I just rolled down my window and I shoved my ESP 8-track in there, and I just cranked it up. And he kind of like looked over at me like, "What are you listening to?"
That's funny.
The funny thing about that 8-track was that I didn't have an 8-track player at home. So if I transcribed a couple of those tunes off my 8-track player. I run out to my car, play a little bit, run back in to sit down at my piano. I'd go back and forth.
That's hysterical. Oh my God. So, well, somebody asked about your influences. Before you go into a little more background in LA, I would, and by the way, Louis said, how does Rick look exactly the same? He has a painting in his bedroom.
Yeah, this is just all technology. This is 20 years ago.
So who do you feel like were your main influences? I watched the concert you did recently, which was great. And you, of course, talked about Richie Byrack. And by the way, I interviewed this pianist named Brian Penzone last week, and he was talking about Richie Byrack happenstancely, and I told him about you, and I said, oh yeah, my friend Rick is really into Richie Byrack. So I'm guessing that Richie was a big influence on you.
Later, but yeah,
okay.
Richie's I'm not. I'll try to give you the edited version.
Okay.
But it's obviously I have my what I call them the kind of like the foundational 5 of modern jazz piano play. Modern jazz piano. There's like Herbie, McCoy, Chick, Keith Jarrett, and Bill Evans. Those to me are my pillars of modern jazz piano. Now, I love a lot of the piano players before that, like Barry Harris and Wynton Kelly and all those guys. And I even like to go back and listen to the old boogie players, like Meade Lux Lewis. I got a lot.
That's cool.
Guys, of course, and then Claire Fisher is a big influence. I actually had the opportunity to have a couple of lessons with him when I was in LA, and he just blew my mind. I was actually at graduate school, And Dave Roydstein was actually on the road for that semester. He got a gig with Sheena Easton. So in the composition class, he brought in different people. And I particularly remember Claire coming into the class, and we all brought in a piece that we wrote, one of our tunes, and he would sit down and play them the way or I would play it. Like if it was a piano player, we'd sit down and play what we wrote. And then it was like he would go in and, how can I say this? He would clarify it. You get my drift. And it's down at this tune that I wrote that I actually recorded a long time ago with Paul on one of his albums. And it was like my eyes are bulging. And so I got to tell the story correctly. I got a lesson with him before he came to Cal Arts, and he had all these voicing exercises that he wanted me to do. And I kind of walked away from the lesson, going, well, okay, I'll work on this stuff. And it didn't really click, like there was no context.
Yeah.
Like learn all these voicings in these different positions, So, but it's when he came to Cal Arts and he played my tune, it's like the light bulb went off.
Yeah.
And so I worked on those voicings he gave to me about 3 months prior, and I was like hammering at him. And I called him about 2 weeks after that class and said, okay, I got to have another lesson. I'm ready to come see you again, And so I went in and I showed him all the stuff that he'd showed me. And then I showed him a couple things that I was applying it to. And there was a couple tunes that I was working on. Because, Claire's music, the thing that I love about his music is that it's always about voices moving.
Yeah.
Just at the moment that you think you're getting to a point of rest, he's already moving the chord to the next voicing, So that's when he really, and he was really great. I mean, he was a great guy, and he was generous with his time. And I got some close to that. In fact, I remember at one point I was doing something. I'd worked a couple things out on. Bless you. I'd work a couple things out on all the things you are, inner voice movement stuff, and it was kind of cool. He looked over and he said, "Oh, that's pretty cool."
Wow. Wow.
So, but anyway, that's those, the five that I mentioned, Claire. And then as far as players after that, Richie, of course, I love Richie. Mark Copeland.
Oh, I love him.
He's kind of like the Claire Fisher of the 21st century for me. I mean, harmonically, he's a real genius. Brad Meldau, of course. And then there's a lot of these younger players that are coming in that for a long time, you can't keep up with everybody, but I've gotten into I told you about it, the Armenian piano player.
Vardan of Sepian?
Well, not him yet. I haven't gotten him.
Oh, no, right. The guy you sent me.
Tigran Hamasanyan, or I can't.
That was gorgeous.
Yeah. So it all influences me, but I think the foundation for me were those five, and then Claire. I mean, that was really the big foundation for me,
Yeah. Thursday night, I'm actually performing at the LA Athletics Club in this new series they're doing, online series.
Yeah.
And so I have Atmaro Ruiz on piano and Carrie Frank on B3 and Aron Seferty on drums.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because they're just so much fun to play with. But are you familiar with Atmaro's playing?
No, I'm not. I know he's on your record for your dedicated to your sisters, right?
Yes, he is. And he every Saturday night on Facebook, he has it's interesting. I forget what he calls it. Something like, let me ask you this. So he actually this Saturday, the last Saturday he had Husto on. So they talk about music things and they play a bit and talk and play. It's really nice. It's like 6 to 7:30. And then he then he ends and then he cooks for them. But anyway, you should check it out because I'm sure you would love him. And he really is one of the more brilliant piano players I've heard. He's really a beautiful, beautiful player.
Okay, I'll definitely.
Oh yeah, and Roland said Tigran Hamasyan, right?
Well, I'll take their word for it. I don't know how to pronounce his last name at all. So yeah, but that's who I was talking about. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, he's a real interesting player. He's actually bringing his culture into his music, and I just find it not only fascinating, but it's really beautiful stuff.
It's
So,
really beautiful. And Barnaby's mentioning Sullivan Fortner. He's really
yeah,
amazing player too.
Alan Johnson, or was it you? I can't remember. I was talking to you. I think I was talking to her about this vocalist that he.
Cecile McLaurin Sullivan. Yeah.
Amazing stuff. Yeah, he's pretty amazing himself. Yeah.
Yeah, he really is.
So there's many of them out there, and they're all great players. And they, you know, the ones that really obviously get to me, I mean, are the ones that they're doing something that's kind of unique and it's out of the norm.
Yeah.
You know what I hear with these players.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Out of the norm. That's what I like too. Out of the norm.
Yeah.
Brad Dutz is kind of like
Oh, I love that.
yeah, he's not only out of the norm himself, but he had this series for the last 2 years on Thursday nights, and he would have out of the norm people coming and playing, and it was really wonderful. Yeah, I sometimes I would sit there. Roland used to come with me, and sometimes I would sit there and just it would strike me so much that I just wanted so many people to hear it, because it creates a space that is magic. It's magical. And to me, I call it a God space, it's connected to God. It's just so, it's so vibrant and real and, feels good, and I just would sit there so many times just wishing that so many people could hear that, and be there.
Well, yeah, that is a real interesting, gifting. God's really rich with that. Gives us all something different to contribute.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're true to yourself, which is a challenge, of course, then you are the the channel.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. Yeah. Um, yeah. Oh, Barnaby says he likes Josh Nelson, which of course we do too.
Yeah. Now that's the guys that you've had on your albums are just like Josh, that trio album with him and
Larry Coons.
Larry. Whew. The first time I listened to that, man, it was just put me away. So
I know that they were. Me too, actually. When I was listening to edit and mix, there were moments that I was just kind of stunned. It was like, oh my gosh, they're just like what they're relating to each other and making this just beautiful quality stuff.
Yeah, and your other one, your duo album with the Korean.
Oh, he's wonderful, isn't he?
Yeah, I can't remember his name right now.
His name is Yun Sung Cho, but I called him Cho. But he's in Korea now. But I thought he sounded on that record anyway, kind of chick-like.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think so?
Well, I could hear that. I could hear a little bit of that influence, definitely. But yeah, he's definitely got his own thing going on, though. There's a lot going on there when he's very. How can I say this? Thoughtfully spontaneous.
Yeah. He's really a great player. I enjoyed working with him. That record actually wasn't even supposed to be a record particularly. He was going back to Korea after living here for a while, and we just thought, we really should just record what we've been doing, because you're going away and who knows when you'll come back, and right. And then it became a record. It was so good. It was so nice. He played so well.
I'm glad it did. I really did.
Yeah. Yeah, Sandy, you're right. Emmett Cohen. He's a very good young player. Do you know of him?
What's his name again?
Emmett Cohen.
No, I have to check him out though. If you're saying he's
He,
good, I know.
yeah, he's in New York and he's a young guy and he plays with great players and he plays on Mondays from 4 to 5 on Facebook and it's called Emmett's Place. It's very good.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Way
Do you?
around this COVID thing is pretty
Oh,
interesting.
I know. Gosh, so rich.
Mhm.
Roland is curious if you know Yun Sun Na. She's a really good singer. Have you heard her?
No, I have not.
Yeah,
But I think I should check her out.
yeah. She's very good too. You'd like her a lot. So let's ask you about your more history in LA.
Okay, well, I had a great opportunity to play. I mean, we actually got some nice gigs with Reawakening a few times. We actually did some recording. Uh, none of it ever saw the light of day, of course. But Paul was really,
Paul Yanamura, right?
yeah, Paul Unimore. He really, we did an album of his. Um,
What was the name of the group?
First Flight Home. First
Sorry,
flight. First Flight Home.
First Flight Home. Okay.
Yeah, we did. That was Dave Stone was playing, and is he still around, Dave Stone? Do you know?
I think I bumped it. It's funny that you said that. I've been downloading my CDs to a hard drive,
Uh-huh.
and I there was a recording that was I don't know if it was Doc Severinsen, but it was you know somebody um, here in Los Angeles,
Uh-huh.
and there was Dave Stone. They had a picture of people. There
No.
was Dave because he has like a very large face, right? And so he really stands out. But I think I saw him like a year and a half ago or so, which was real rare, you
Uh,
know. But anyway, yeah, Dave Stone. So what were you saying about Dave?
well, I was just going to say that he was on the session on Paul's record
Oh, okay.
with Larry Honda. Uh,
Oh,
so we did a couple of my tunes and a couple of Larry's tunes and it's really interesting that was back before CDs. So Paul issued that on vinyl. And sorry about this.
yeah, you got back to there.
I actually thought I turned that off, but who knows? Anyway, but gosh, what was I saying? Um, anyway, so that was a really fun session, and Paul actually reissued that on CD, so it's on CD now. And actually, he included another one of my tunes on the reissue, which is kind of nice. It was kind of a more extended, and actually Kim is on that particular performance. So of course, all the casuals, some of the fun gigs you and I had. I'll never forget that little duo gig we had down in Laguna Beach. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. I do.
And that horrible little piano that I had to play. But I mean, there were like notes that didn't work, but I started using those. If you remember, and I started using those as like for percussion and stuff like that. I just figured, all right, this is what I got. But I'll tell you, there's one thing I'll never forget. And you put me through a ringer one night.
Who, me?
Yeah, you called what was it? Gosh darn it. Da 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 da.
Okay. Body and Soul.
Body and soul. And I'm going, oh yeah. And then you said in G. Now, Cathy, that's a tritone away from the original key. So I got to tell you, I was scuffling like big time to try to get through that. Vocalist.
That's really funny, huh? I mean, when I came here from Boston, I had been singing with my dad's bands, and back in Boston, especially the older guys, they played anything in any key. That was I
Yeah.
guess how they came up, When I came here, all of a sudden, even something like Girl from Ipanema, they were like, D, I don't know, D, let me think about that. It's like, and I was like, really? What?
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, it was like, yeah, whatever key.
Uh,
But Body and Soul in G, I still do it in G, actually.
well, if we get a chance to play again, I guess I better get that on.
um, hey, I'm gonna play something from the record that we did together.
Oh, okay, great.
And here it is. Remember this cover?
No, I do.
Are you still about how to hang a
Let's see.
picture on the wall?
Sorry,
Now,
I don't
our new
want
tool
that
comes
part
here.
of it.
Take her picture.
Here. Skip ads. Thank you. And then, okay, so now I have to know what we're picking. There was Mr. Hall, All the Children, A Child Listening, In Time,
Oh, gee.
When You Wish Upon a Star, Coming into Present Time. Did you arrange the whole record?
No, I did. I know I did. Coming into present time.
That was cool.
And then obviously this thing with the strings on Child Listening, which that's a beautiful piece. I mean, I was really honored that you gave me the opportunity to actually arrange that and use real string players.
Right, I remember that.
I remember you did a really nice version of When You Wish Upon a Star with Bill Lohr.
Yeah, that was.
I remember you telling me Bill was like complaining, like, I got to use a synthesizer. You got to use real strings.
Well, maybe we should do A Child Listening. That was this song was my first husband's composition, Gus Garcia, and as Rick said, he got to use real strings, which is really nice. So here we go. Was a time my life was free, being free my only dream. Time went by slowly, I was a child listening, hearing life with its tender sigh. In the arms of love was I only dreaming. I've seen all my years gone by, they were drifting, drifting far. From this place my soul is free. From this place my heart can dream. Time went by slowly. I was a child listening, reaching far past the furthest star, with you on my mind, searching for the beacon. I've seen all my years gone by. They were drifting, drifting, drifting far. Oh yeah, you really made that album. You really did. Your arrangements really made that album.
Performance on that too, I mean, was stunning.
Wow, thanks. Yeah, that was. It's funny. That when we must have made that in something like '86 or something,
Right.
and I don't know about you, but I don't really go back particularly and listen to my old records. Sometimes every now and then on iTunes, it'll come up, something will come up and I'll go, oh yeah, oh, that was kind of cool. But going back to listen to this record, it's really, like I said, you really made that record happen. Your arrangements were so beautiful.
No, thank you. Well, I'm just really glad that I had, you gave me the opportunity to do that, because it was like great for me, because the music was so good, the music was interesting, and it was really, and you were really cool about, letting me do what I wanted to do,
Well, it was beautiful.
So,
quite frankly, I don't know how the hell I paid for that record, because Gus and I were so dirt broke most of the time. I don't know what, I have no idea. I know probably, oh gosh, he was a good friend of mine, and now his name has gone totally out of my mind. The engineer, he remember he lived down maybe in San Diego, or it was down that way, and that was where the studio was.
That's right. We had to go down there. I remember that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, sorry.
I'm sure it's on the liner notes.
Me too. Yeah. Anyway, but that was really beautiful. Yeah. Was that your first string job?
Yes, it was actually. It was, and I'd always wanted to write for strings. I think one of the things that had me really excited about doing this was, I don't know if you remember, hang on a second. There was an album of Keith Jarrett's, pulling it up right now. It was called Expectations.
Uh-huh.
Recorded it on Columbia a number of years ago. And there's the very first tune on the album is called Visions.
Okay.
It's a short piece, but it's this string orchestra, and he's improvising over the top of this really rich harmonic palette, and that really was a big influence to me, just in terms of, gosh, when I grow up, I want to write strings that way, So anyway, that was a kind of an influence. I did when we used to do the jazz festival down at Idlewild. That is, Marshall Hawkins had his Seahawk Jazz Orchestra, and we did that a couple of times at the festival. And I wrote a piece for a friend of his, a piano player friend of his, of course, whose name now I can't remember, great player. And then the next year, I got even more ambitious, and because he had what he did. It was kind of like a chamber orchestra. It was like strings and brass and woodwinds, so
Yeah.
a lot of nice colors, bass clarinet and all those kind of flutes, that kind of stuff. So the next year I got really ambitious, and I did an arrangement on Ellington's Fleurette Africaine. You familiar with that one?
No, I am not.
Can I? Well,
Yeah.
not.
What?
Well, let me give me a second here. I know we're running out of time, but
No, we're fine.
just real quick here. But I learned. I've got that Ellington album that's Money Jungle.
Okay.
With Mingus and Max Roach. Very interesting record. You could definitely tell that Mingus and Max were kind of like at loggerheads the way they were. But that notwithstanding, let me just see if I can find, because I want to put, this might be something for you to think about doing a lyric on.
Yeah. By the way, Carl Suka said it's great to see you and talk music.
Oh yeah, Carl is great. He's a great trumpet player, great composer and arranger. And he's basically taken over the jazz theory and the composition, after I left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when he did his graduate recital at San Diego State, it was really pretty amazing.
Cool.
Sorry, this is taking a little time.
No problem. Are you going to play piano?
Yeah, but I need the music in front of me.
Well, yeah.
I haven't played in a long time.
What is the title again?
Called African Flower, or Fleurette Africaine.
Oh, okay. African Flower. I think I've heard that name.
Okay. Here we go. I got so many files I can't keep track of them.
Uh-huh.
But it's a really beautiful tune.
Carl said, "I'm just trying to be half the teacher you were, Rick, and that is reaching." Philip J. Lim said this was great, and he's going to check out the archives, and he was really happy to see you again.
Oh well, I'll have to get in touch with him. Philip was a really good student.
And Gabriel Sunday said hello.
Oh. Gabriel is an amazing baritone sax player.
Oh,
in fact, he's on that recording. Well, he plays tenor too, but he's on that recording I did with Combo One that Leonard and Jeanette were on.
Oh, okay.
Bring that down to you to listen to it.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is. Of course, I have my Hamburg Steinway in the living room. No, I wish I had the Hamburg Steinway. You probably hear that. Anyway, so I put a little introduction to it. Here's the tune. It's great.
That's really beautiful.
I Helzerize it a little bit. So, the melody is so haunting, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, so that's what I got to actually arrange for that orchestra. The problem was that it was it was pretty complex, and it was, I mean, the performance we got out of it, I don't know that it ever got recorded. I hope it didn't actually, but because it was rough. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping at some point I can get someone to play it.
Yeah. Well, it's really beautiful. Yeah. Gosh, there's just so much great music, to listen to and to experience. It's really amazing. There's just not enough time in the day to do it, actually. There's so much beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
I like to when my kitchen is back together again, I have a CD player in there with a five CD player,
Okay.
and normally I will play that music for about 2 weeks, and it just, so it has time to sink in, and it's beautiful. Not that I shouldn't listen, solely without washing dishes, but it is nice to have it when you're doing that, and then it soaks in. Lately, I've been trying to learn Portuguese with Luisa. You know that song, right? The Jobim song. Oh gosh, you have to check that song out. It's one of his, just beautiful. Ba 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 do de di do da 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 do da 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 ya do de de. Yeah, it's quite beautiful. And actually, Dave Reutzstein and Larry Kuntz did oh my God. And they just play it once through on a record or recording of theirs. And it's perfect. It's just so beautiful. But anyway, yeah, so I've been trying to soak it in with the lyrics, like line by line, so that I can, because it's a little difficult for me to speak Portuguese.
Well, it's an incredibly beautiful language. I mean, I love to listen to it even though I don't understand
it. Yeah. Well, it's been 2 hours.
Wow, it's been a lot of fun.
Hasn't it been fun? You have to be on again, I think. What would be really fun for me, I wonder if I could do this. I would like to have you and Bevan Manson and Gary Fukushima on together, because I just want to see you guys meet each other. That's all. I just want to see it happen.
Sure.
So maybe I'll try and arrange that, maybe in January or something, Yeah. So thank you so much for being on and hanging out.
This has been great, Cathy. I really appreciate it. It's just good to hang out and talk to you and see you in person,
Yeah. And also see all your friends, man. Your friends are really showed up,
Well, that's nice. Thank you to all of them, and it just it's humbling and it's gratifying all at the same time. So
yeah. I just want to tell everybody that I'm on Monday through Wednesday now, and so tomorrow is a really interesting singer. Rick, you'd really enjoy her. She's kind of a mentee of Jay Clayton.
Oh, okay.
And, her name is Eilette Rose Gottlieb. She's very interesting. She's really a forward mover and really improvisational and really nice singer. And then Wednesday I have a guy who's been on probably every movie or TV thing in the last 50 years. He's Rick Baptist, a trumpet player.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is he vice president or president? I think he's president of the union. I think he's president. Anyway, so in LA, so that should be fun because he's a really nice guy. Great, obviously great player, and he's had a lot of great experiences. And I think I told you this, but in a week or two, I think it's 2 weeks. Yeah, Bob Moses is going to be on.
Oh yeah, I got to check that out. I got to check that out.
Yeah, that's the 22nd of
Okay.
December.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I would love to hear you talk with him. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really.
Yeah, he's like he's one of my favorites, and well, you know, that club that it was called the Maiden Voyage. You remember that club?
Yeah.
That's where I saw that group with him and
Oh.
Harvey Schwartz and Sheila,
Oh.
Steve Kuhn, and I tell you, that was an incredibly inspiring night of music. This
Wow.
was unbelievable.
God, that
They
sounds
had one
amazing.
live album on ECM, and they've never, and I'm kind of ticked off about this, they've never reissued it on CD. It's called Last Year's Waltz.
Oh, what is it called? The last year's?
Last Year's Waltz.
Oh, last year's waltz. Huh. Maybe I have a friend on who's really good at looking for that. But are you sure they never did?
Well, I mean, let me put it this way. I mean, in terms of what I've looked, you know, the sources I've looked through, I mean,
Yeah.
on eBay, there's a overseas thing that I've looked at, and I can't find a CD reissue of it. And there should be. If there isn't, there should be.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's like live, and it's they do a version of da 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 da. Da 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 da. What is that?
Oh, ba-da-da-da.
I remember you.
Yeah.
Man, it's like, well, it just takes you somewhere. Just takes you.
Wow. Okay, Dan Davila, that's your next job. Looking for that record. He can find anything if it exists.
If he finds it on CD, tell him I want it. I got to get a copy of it.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thanks again, Cathy. Love you.
Thanks. I love you too. Thank you so much. And I'll send you a link to this by email if my email's working yet. And then you can look at it or share it or download it or whatever.
Okay, great. That's great. And I'll send you that Ellington tune too.
Oh, good. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
All right.
So, everybody take care and have a good one. And we'll see you tomorrow if you come visit again.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.